Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the seventh episode of ECA Per Talks. I am so glad to welcome you all, and I'm so happy that all the participants who have registered have started joining in. Let me start with my introduction. I am Mansi Mehta. I am the National Projects Coordinator at ECA. I am also the Country Manager for Town for Kids. Before we begin with the session and we introduce all the eminent speakers we have for today, I would like to give you a brief about what is Early Childhood Association and APER all about. The Early Childhood Association India is a setup with a vision that all the preschools, balwadis, NGOs, children's activity classes, parents, student teachers, media houses, companies that deal with children's product, in short, everyone connected to young children can all come together to advocate, discuss, learn and share, connect and bring about a change in the quality, care development and learning of early childhood in India. APER is a vertical under the aegis of ECA, which is a registered body. APER's vision is to work on quality enhancement in primary education through collaborative action between early years program and primary schools. So friends, I take this honor to introduce the speakers for today. May I have uh, Miss Insia Rahim, the first speaker of the day. We have Miss Neha Tapadia, Miss Dr. Ankita Sanghvi, Miss Seema Tanwar, Miss Shilpa Solanki. She is yet to join us due to some technical thing. She will join us in some time. And we have Miss Meeta Agarwal. I am so happy to have all of you with us here. And let me tell you, friends, we have all the speakers of today from our Pune committee. I am so happy to have the entire Pune committee with all of us. So we begin with the first speaker of the day. We have Ms. Insia Rahim. Ms. Insia is the founder of Learn to Teach, and she's also the director of Toddlers Nursery. She is the ECA committee member of Pune chapter. The topic that she's going to talk with us today on is lockdown learnings. So over to you, Miss Insia, and I am happy all of us are waiting to hear from you. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mansi. Thank you for that introduction and thank you for hosting this talk show. I'd like to start by thanking Swati ma'am, ECA and APER for this novel concept of the first ever talk show for educators. I think it's really brilliant. When I think about currently what our human race is going through, it's a huge turmoil. There are a lot of changes happening. And if we just compare this to a movie, in some ways we were running in a fast forward mode and someone has hit the pause button. In all domains of our life, it's given us time to stop, take a break, think, and ponder. Uh, Education as we know it is going through a paradigm shift. And this lockdown, this pause in my life has also given me some time to think and ponder about what is it that is happening now and how do we see the future. So when I was penning down my learnings, my thoughts, I came up with a keyword lock. And in no capacity today am I trying to teach or preach. We're all educators. So I just want to share my learnings that I had during the lockdown. And this keyword lock, uh, when I look at it, this lock has helped me unlock many key areas, secrets, and aspects that have helped me bring success in certain areas of my life. So let me start with this keyword lock and what each of the four letters in lock stands for. L in lock stands for I've learned that less is more. This lockdown has really taught me that less is more. 5 pairs of clothes is all I needed to very comfortably and functionally get through 70 plus days of this lockdown. Less food, less energy, less shopping, less luxury, less of even waste was being produced in my home. I gave a little try to composting and a lot more of recycling. So, in turn, I was even producing less waste. Less is more really applies to education also. If we really think about what we were doing, we could really reduce the quantum and focus on quality. If we think about recycling, right, we use the three words reduce, reuse, and recycle. We could really reduce the quantity and focus more on quality. We could really reuse some of the familiar characters. We could reuse some of those famous stories, those fairy tales. We could reuse the old classics by just giving some small tweaks and changes and making it a little more relevant for our children. We could definitely recycle some teaching aids, use recyclable material to make teaching aids, because now more than ever, I think we as educators really need to focus on environmental impact in every domain and everything that we do. The O in lock for me taught me that don't overdo and don't overwhelm yourselves. We were trying to produce these superhuman children with so much of excessive curriculum that we wanted them to master in every way. Even we as adults, sometimes we were trying to take on too many maybe ventures, too many projects, too many things. If I give you an analogy of a dinner plate, we were trying to serve ourselves more food than we could digest, or more food than our body needed. We were trying to take on more things than our families were comfortable with. So this lockdown has really given us that time to spend at home and bond with our families. It's taught us in education to cut some frills and focus on the basics, focus on the fundamentals, because education needs to be more about values, decision making, independence, empathy, and kindness. It's also taught me that the C that I need to focus on is staying calm. A lot of us as educators were very nervous about online learning, were very nervous about using technology for the first time. But when I thought about it, it was that it's just once that you have to learn it, and then it's smooth sailing. The first time that you would have learned to ride a bike or a car or a bicycle, initially it's difficult, but once you learn it, you do it without thinking much. And it's important to accept and be open to change. And once you do, yes, initially change does give you a bumpy ride, but eventually it does smoothen out. So C stands for staying calm, mind your mind. And for me, I did a lot of meditation. I also did these 10 minutes power workouts. Thanks to my husband, me, and the kids, we all used to do these and still do these 10 minutes power workouts that we follow on YouTube. That really helps us stay calm and focused. So mind your mind, breathe, and meditate, do yoga, whatever helps you get that balance. Finally, the K stands for keep upskilling yourself and upgrading yourself. There are so many webinars and trainings that are being organized, especially EC and APER are organizing so many webinars, trainings. It's take advantage of those. Most of them are free, some are at nominal prices. So I would really recommend that now is the time to upskill, upgrade yourself, keep doing that. I feel really grateful and blessed that I got the opportunity to train almost 150 plus teachers through our online training at Learn to Teach during this lockdown across various institutes, which otherwise wouldn't have been possible with the physical barriers. But because it was online, I did get this opportunity. So, in short, those were some of my learnings in the lockdown, which otherwise probably wouldn't have been possible. So I'm very grateful for them. And I hope they will help all the educators to ponder on. So that's all from me. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Insia. And before the session began, I actually missed out on mentioning the special panel that we have from Pune team basically is going to talk about each skill. So the theme that we have for today's ECA per talk is upskilling the educators for the new normal. That is actually the theme. We've never had. This is like a first time in the history of ECA per talk. Let me say, it is the first time since the past 6 episodes that we are going to have a theme-based ECA per talk. So I'm so glad that Insia, you took up this topic, and it was really helpful for all of us to hear you. And let me tell the audience that, today all these speakers are talking over here. So it's very difficult for them to manage everything in just 7 minutes. But they just give the best of the points wherein they want that from the entire topic, they can take away the best points and then they can help you to use it up in your life as well. So thank you so much, Insia, for being here with us. And I introduce the next speaker of today that we have Miss Neha Tapadia. Miss Neha is the CEO of Jumpstart International Preschool and Learning Center. She is also the ECA committee member for Pune chapter. So we are going to hear from Sneha. So again, her topic is a little interesting, and I'm also very keen to understanding the ABCD of virtual presence. It's something which is going on nowadays, and we all are virtually connected. So let us see what Sneha has got for us. So over to you, Sneha.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mansi.
so much, Mansi. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to all the wonderful educators, to all the wonderful participants who are listening to the session today. Welcome to the new normal way of learning. Welcome to learning through our screen. The way we showcase ourselves is the way the world will view us. So we need to present ourselves really appropriately for our viewers, for our participants, and mainly for our children to take us very seriously. So today we are going to talk about creating the right first impression, the right impact on a child's mind. In a physical classroom, we get the opportunity to hug the child, to cuddle the child, use our enthusiasm, use eye contact mainly to help settle children. All of this is diluted in a virtual classroom while we are learning remotely through a screen. Our presence is restricted to few inches of screen time. And today we are going to understand how to make those few inches of screen really impactful so that we leave an impression on a child's mind. To create the right showcase, we need to understand the ABCD of virtual presence. A stands for appearance, B stands for behavior and your etiquettes, C stands for communication and non-verbal gesture, and D stands for your digital footprint, your digital presence. So let's talk about each of this element in detail. A stands for appearance. For people to take you seriously, it is very important that you present yourselves right. And now you don't only have children to view you, but you have other people, that is parents also and primary caregivers who are there with the child when they are viewing the session. So you need to create the right impact both for your parent partners and on the child's mind. It is very important that you dress appropriately, and it is very important that you look authentic and you look attractive in front of the camera. Our camera is now, or our presence is not only restricted to ourselves in the way we dress, but it is also restricted to the background. So let us understand how we can make this appearance very interesting. The first is having a flattering background. You need to have a background which is not disturbing for the children. You cannot have a showpiece hanging in the background, something moving, because for child, it is now you and the background. Your enthusiasm will reach out to children when your body language is very enthusiastic, when your voice is enthusiastic. So you need to work on the other factors. So apart from creating a flattering background, which is clutter-free, which is preferably a plain background or something which is very clean, neat and tidy, you need to also work on a flattering lighting. A lot of educators sit in front of light. So they're basically not very clear to the child when the child is viewing them from the screen. Sometimes the light is coming from the left-hand side, sometimes from the right-hand side, sometimes it is from the top. So as educators, we need to be vigilant about creating the right flattering light by ensuring there is natural diffuse light which comes on the face of the educator so that she can keep her enthusiasm, energy intact through that screen presence. It is also very important to sit in a corner of the house which is noise free, where nobody disturbs you. That will also ensure that you will give a delivery to your class which is without any disturbance and is up to the mark. Another important thing that all of us need to remember, apart from the lighting, the background, is the camera angle. Through all these months, I've observed that the camera angle is not appropriate. Sometimes the camera angle is from beneath, where you can see the chin of the educator. Sometimes the camera is right above yourself, where you can see the floor and the teacher is not very clear. You need to adjust yourself in a way where there is equal amount of distance around you. So there is same distance here, and same distance from the other side. A lot of educators are tempted to look at themselves when the session is on, which can be very, very distracting. So it is very essential to create the right eye contact with children by looking right in the camera. Find where the camera angle of your mobile is and where the camera of your desktop or laptop is, and look straight into the camera so that the children can feel the connect with you. This is about the appearance. Let's move towards the B of the ABCD of virtual presence, that is behavior. It is very easy to set behavior and etiquettes in a physical classroom, but it will take some time for children to understand the etiquettes of your classroom. And for that, you will have to be the role model. You can set basic etiquettes and behavioral patterns in the classroom, like you maybe start a session with gratitude, and that becomes a customary routine part of your class. That's the behavior of your class, that's the etiquette of your class. You can keep yourself unmuted while all the other participants are on mute mode, and you need to tell children the importance of being on mute. You need to tell the children the importance of taking turns, because only when their microphone would be unmuted is when they'll be able to talk. Your behavior decides the behavior of children, and your behavior needs to be exuberated through consistency through the screen. Now, the most important thing is communication. Like we discussed, along with children, now we have a parent partner sitting next to them, assisting them, and at times they can have their viewpoint over whatever you are saying. When parents end up giving their opinions, at times teachers react and not respond. React comes spontaneously, and response comes after thinking about it and then giving a solution which comes out of your prefrontal cortex. The communication should always be that of response and not that of reaction whenever you are taking a virtual classroom session. It is good to partner with the parents by telling them the why of the activity. Why are you doing this activity and how is it going to benefit the child? It is good to take them in because eventually they are going to be the partners in the child's growth and development. So keep the communication up to the mark and always explain them the why, how, and what of whatever you are doing. Your non-verbal gestures are also very, very important. So because only this part of your body is seen, the way you twitch your eyebrows, the way you open up your eyes, close your eyes, the way you're moving your hands, everything is seen through the camera. So be very conscious about all your non-verbal body gestures too. It is always good to have a body posture which leans a little ahead, because that shows interest when the child is talking. You also need to set the right non-verbal gestures for the children of your class. And last but not the least, let's come to the D of the virtual presence. D stands for digital presence, your digital footprint. Earlier, parents used to take admissions in preschool looking at the infrastructure, looking at the facilities that you have in your school, and obviously then having an interaction with your teachers and the other parents. But now, parents take admission in school just looking at the way the educator teaches. And I think this is the best part because the stalwarts actually get the limelight. People who put in hard work are actually the people by which parents are taking decisions. So it is very important that the teachers have the digital presence appropriate. Names like Pretty Me, Smiley Me on your profile picture would not be a good digital footprint for the parent. So make sure that your names are professional enough on your Insta handles, on your Facebook handles, and on your Twitter accounts. Create the right digital footprint so that when parents reach out to you, you can create the perfect ABCD on the child's mind and on the parent's mind. Thank you so much. Another thing before I leave the session, what I would want to tell all of you who are listening here is your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And the kind of impact that you create on children is going to be your trademark as an educator. So create the right impact on the child's mind by creating your right trademark. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sneha. It was indeed a lot of energetic session, and I loved the way you kept smiling and the way you, kept the crowd holding, and everybody is quite happy to listen to you. So am I. So we move on to the third speaker of today. We have Dr. Ankita Sanghvi. Dr. Ankita is the director for Innocent Times School. She's also the treasurer for ECA Pune Chapter Committee. So, and Ankita is going to talk about the teacher well-being. So Ankita, all the teacher fraternity, they are all looking forward to hearing from you. So over to you.
Thank you, Mansi, for coordinating, and many thanks to ECA and APER for giving me the opportunity to being a panelist here. Teachers are at the helm of students' success. So today, I'm going to be addressing about teacher well-being. So many of us have been attending webinars about how to go virtual, what are you supposed to do online, what are you supposed to do with your experience right now. But has anybody spoken about teacher well-being? All of us have gone through a significant burnout in the last 70 days of lockdown. Every one of us has been a housewife, has been a maid, and a director, educator, or a teacher at the same time in one day. Each of us must have said this at least once: enough is enough. Ab mujhse ye nahi hota. When is this all going to end? But having said that, haven't we managed to carry out each of these roles to our best? Haven't we learned to multitask? Believe me, every crisis comes with an opportunity. The question is, are we going to come out as a survivor or thrive and bounce back with full vigor? The attitude and the mindset is very, very important. Teacher. Who is a teacher? Teachers are people who are least likely to take care of themselves. Why? Because they are very, very busy taking care of others. An Indian teacher. How many times have you heard an Indian teacher saying, Mera bacha, my child, my student? This is how an Indian teacher identifies herself with her students. The amount of things that a teacher has to go through is very, very significant. But as a teacher, how many times have we sat back and said, I need to take care of myself? And how can you take care of yourself while you're managing so many things? Why is self-care so important? If you don't take care of yourself, you will not be able to take care of your students, of your family, of anything around you. It does not enable you to be an effective teacher. If you are tired emotionally and physically, you cannot be energetic in class, and you all of us very well know the energy that is needed, especially for a preschool teacher. So what are the causes of stress for a teacher? Work-life balance. How many of you have carried schoolwork home? My sister has been a teacher, and we have seen her house full of papers, artwork, scissors, chart papers, glue all over throughout the day. I'm sure all of you also must have gone through this. Isn't a teacher concerned about her students? Is my child doing well? Is my student really progressing? Why was this child aggressive in class today? Why was this child not really speaking up in class today? Aren't we concerned about students in our class? Another stress factor could be your relationship with your colleagues. Yes, it is extremely demanding. Your principal is going to demand something from you. Your colleagues maybe at times might not be supporting as much as you want. Accountability. Aren't you accountable to the parents, the children, the management? After all this, you have administrative tasks at school. And then, of course, the relationship with parents, because they are also extremely demanding at times. With everything, now we are having this new normal that's online. You are at home, you're supposed to take sessions online, and there are 100 expectations set for you. You are a teacher, you are a caregiver, and you are a care provider. Caregiver, because you're taking care of senior citizens at home, maybe parents, maybe in-laws. Care provider for your spouse, for your children. So how many roles are you performing at one time? After all this, being online, like Sneha said, teacher is always under the pressure of being judged. Pressure of being judged by children, pressure of being judged by parents, their pressure of being judged by the management. But when you're online, yes, during online sessions, many of the parents are going to sit with children and they are going to watch you, maybe for an entire session, which was probably not there earlier when the child is at school. So you have to believe that you are the expert. You are the master of the subject. And the only thing that has changed is the delivery mode. That's it. But you have to believe in yourself, trust yourself, and do not bother about being judged. If the parents are judging you, it's their problem. It's not your problem. If you're doing your job well and you are satisfied with your delivery, do not bother and do not get bogged down by this pressure. What are the signs that you would know that you are under stress and that you need self-care? If you're sacrificing sleep, that if you're not sleeping well, if you're reacting emotionally to behaviors, you have to know that your body and mind is giving up. You need to take a break. You need to stop. You need to stop there and think. If you're craving for sweets or fried things, this is not because you're tired, but this is a form of invisible stress that is coming in. So you have to realize that, yes, maybe something is going wrong. If you're overwhelmed and if you keep saying throughout the day, bahut kaam hai, mujhe bahut kaam hai, mujhe bahut kaam hai, I have too much work, and at the end of the day, you have still not been able to do much, but yes, you did keep saying the entire day that I have a lot of work to do. And if you have stopped enjoying your work, if your work does not create joy for you anymore, these are the signs that you can tell yourself that, yes, maybe I need to stop and I need some self-care here. So how do you self-care? Set healthy boundaries. Know what you are saying yes for. You don't have to say yes for everything. You're not here to please everybody. So set healthy boundaries for yourself. Take breaks often. You are a teacher. You need to be effective. You need to be optimum at most of the times. So you need to take a break. You need to rejuvenate and you need to come back with all your energy. So please realize that taking breaks is extremely important. exercise, if you have stairs in school, if you have any other things at home which can keep you mobile, and if you can practice yoga and meditation, it will be excellent. Know your threshold for stress. So again, going back to the signs of stress, you can check if you have these signs of stress, and then you can tell yourself, maybe I need to stop here and I need to do something. Find 3 activities that relieve your stress. It could be music, it could be eating a chocolate, it could be talking to a friend. Find those quick fixes for mental stress. What is my quick fix for relieving my stress? So have those 3 things, 3, because maybe one would not be available, you still would have other 2 to relieve you of your stress at that point of time. Check in on yourself. Check in, am I feeling okay? Am I emotionally doing well? Am I tired physically? Am I effective? Am I competent enough to take the session today? So it is extremely important for you to check in on yourself on and off. Have a downtime. You don't need to wind yourself as watches all the time. You need to learn to unwind, and do not get into the shiny object syndrome of getting distracted with everything that is happening around you. Oh, I need to attend this webinar. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, my colleague has done this course. No, focus on what you have and give your best to what you are doing. Connecting time. Social distancing, yes, but not social isolation. So trust in the power of human connections and connect with a friend, connect with anybody with whom you can talk to. And to end, I'm sure all of you know what PACE is. So it's like a brain gym warm-up. I'm going to probably demonstrate these 4 things for you. PACE stands for positivity, active, clarity, and energetic. So if you are feeling low, if you're feeling down, there is this hookup position, which I'm sure everybody knows. I will demonstrate it for you. You need to sit or stand. You have to cross your leg, and you could take your hands out, roll it outside, hold these together, and get it like this. So this, and cross your legs, maybe left on right or right on left, whatever makes you comfortable. This is the hookup position, which will bring a lot of positivity in you when you're feeling low, when you have a lot of negative emotions. This gives you a feeling that you're hugging yourself, you're secure, and you're safe with yourself. So this is the hookup position. P stands for positivity. Active. Is your brain fully active? So what you need to do when you're active, you need to have this cross and crawl position where you're touching your left elbow with your right knee. So these are the basic cross crawl positions. You could do anything. Maybe if you want to do it while sitting, maybe you do this, you do this. So this really makes your brain active, the cross crawl position. For clarity, so there are these brain buttons here just below your collarbone. So if you do this, and if this is your collarbone, these are your brain buttons. So if you're confused and if you really don't know, you can't take a decision, sit for 2 minutes. Identify your brain buttons, keep one hand on your abdomen and rub these brain buttons for a minute. Then change your hand again, put the other hand on your brain buttons and your navel and rub these here. This will relax you instantly, and this will help. You can do this in your classrooms as well. But if you have a child who's extremely fidgety and aggressive and roaming around, you could practice this with slightly older children. It really helps them to calm down. The last one is energetic. That's you need to keep drinking water and keep yourself hydrated. So these are the 4 things that if every teacher does during the day, I'm very sure that you would be able to relieve yourself of the stress that you might be having with this new normal. I will again repeat, somebody was asking. P is positive, A is active, C is clarity, and E is energetic. So that's from my side. So teachers, it's extremely important for you to take care of yourself, practice the self-care techniques, and I think you would really, really do well. And Albert Einstein said, "It is the supreme art of a teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." So we need teachers who are active, who are energetic, who are positive, and they bring the same in students. That's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ankita. And it was pleasure listening to you. I so can relate to so many points that you have mentioned, and I personally also believe in all those points. And I would just request all the speakers, in case if you're giving any synonyms or if you're giving any words for the participants, after the session, you can note down in the chat box. Sometimes because of the network connectivity from the viewers and they're not able to listen to you even after you repeat. So ma'am, if you can just put down in the chat box so people will they will be able to read that. Anybody, any Insia or Sneha or Ankita, any of the speakers who have given any important points, please mention in the chat box, please. Thank you so much. We have the next speaker of the day today. I am so looking forward to listening to her. I'm listening to her for the first time. So I'm looking forward. We have Miss Seema Tanwar. Miss Seema is the MD for Canvas Kids. Mind you, friends, the kids is with a Z, not an S, right? She's the MD for Canvas Kids Preschools. She's the territory head for ECA Pune chapter. Seema, I'm so happy to have you with us over here, and I am looking forward to listening to you. So Seema has come up with the topic of new normal, new resources. So over to you. We look forward to listening to you.
Thank you so much, Mansi. It was so nice for you to explain the difference that there is the kids with a Z, it's not an S. So thank you for that. And I'm so honored to be a part of the ECA APER national platform. I think ECA and APER is doing such a phenomenal job in staying not only with the new normal times. I think it is much ahead of the new normal times, and helping educators and parents community with the right set of information via all these webinars and a lot of documentation. So it's truly amazing to be a part of such a team. Thank you, Mansi. So yes, I'm here to talk about resource planning today, new resources or reinvented resources. So resource planning for the new normal, a skill that every educator I feel must have to make learning effective. So as an educator, I think we all are doing our best to make learning effective for our toddlers. And we have set out on a journey of reinventing the way we deliver our concepts and when we are not physically present. So every day, I think we are striving to search for new resources which would make learning effective, suiting the new normal environment. Now, at this juncture, I think it is extremely important for all of us to understand the word effective, because as an educator, I feel it is a very broad term. And if not defined properly, this may lead to a lot of confusion. Now, something that is effective resource for one parent and one child might not be as effective for another child. So when we plan our resources, which will eventually lead to learning, we will first need to set the right expectations with our teachers and also our parents, so they understand what is this effectiveness that we are talking about, right? So to me, as an early childhood educator, an effective resource planning has happened when our little learners have ended up with evidences of learning. Learning those concepts that we have been trying to teach. Although it is going to be difficult to measure this effectiveness of learning, but at the same time, it is extremely important to observe those indications that learning has happened and to record them and as well as to present them. Now, how do we evaluate or measure our own, that learning has happened, and that our own resource planning is something that we must define at the beginning of making the resource plans itself. And then we have to set the right expectations with the parents so that they are very clear on how and what we are trying to evaluate. Now, these evaluations can be done by small capsules of assessments. They can be real-time pictures or videos of children who are doing these activities, and so that we can understand that these learnings has happened. These can even be little conversation that we can try to have with them during our online learning sessions. At this point, I would like to mention a very beautiful poem which has been written by Loris Malaguzzi. He's an educator who played a very key role in the development of Reggio approach of learning, the Reggio Emilia approach of learning. This poem is called as The 100 Languages of Children. Now, why 100 Languages of Children? It's a beautiful poem that depicts a simplicity of learning within this early childhood years. And it just says that there are many, many ways that children communicate, and children are extraordinary learners. So as educators and parents, again, when we plan resources, first we need to listen to their 100 languages and facilitate learning 3 things to them. The right resources to them, by providing the right environment to our little ones, and by providing the right learning opportunities to them. Now, so what are these new resources that we are talking about? Are these really new, or are these reinvented resources? So I would want to talk about today about 3 main resources which is available to any child at during this present scenario when people are sitting at home, they are not able to step out. So the first resource that is available to any child today is their own house, their home. Every corner of home consists of abundance of resources that will facilitate early childhood years learning. For asynchronous learning to happen, we must use every resource available which is there in the house. And one thing can be used in multiple different ways. Now, I mentioned asynchronous learning. What is asynchronous learning? It's basically learning that is independent of location and it is independent of time. So there is a guided curriculum which is given to children, and they can learn at any time of the day when the activities are being performed. Yeah, it is not really time bound and it is not really location bound. And home environment can be converted into a beautiful learning environment through which asynchronous learning can happen. So for example, if it is kitchen environment, they can learn, definitely they can learn fruit, veggies, various types of fruits, shapes, size. They can learn concepts of smell and taste. They can learn concepts of cold, hot, solid, liquid, less, more, up, down. I think float, sink, everything can be introduced to them in such a lovely manner. Now, if we talk about learning and say the learning zone is terrace inside the house, just look at the number of resources that they have there. They can learn about nature, they can learn about textures when they try to feel different leaves and flowers. They touch different things. They can learn about environment, weather, insects, so many things. So again, coming back to resource, we talked about home as a resource. Now let's see, for a single concept, how multiple zones within the home can be also used. So for example, if it is hot and cold concept and it has to be introduced to a child, it can either be done in a kitchen, it can even be done on the terrace, when we tell them what they feel during daytime when they stand in the terrace and how they feel in the night. So even a simple concept like hot and cold can be spread across various learning zones within the home environment itself. The second resource that I would want to talk about is our school learning platform, our teachers, our online learning, and mainly I would want to focus on the synchronous learning that is happening here. So teachers and children come onto a platform where teachers teach the children how to interact. And since that is extremely important these days, socializing is not happening. Children get a beautiful platform to talk to each other, to talk to their teacher. I would encourage that this learning platform or this resource is widely used for more of communication, encouraging communication between the children. They can play games, they can listen to stories, they can tell stories, rhymes, and they can even, present their whatever they have done throughout the day in asynchronous learning. They can even present those on this platform. So, and I would not like to really spend a lot of time because already my co-panelists, I think Sneha and Ankita especially, have given some wonderful tips and practical tips for this area, how the teachers can actually plan the areas of discussion and what they need to focus on. So I will move on to my third resource. And I at this point in time, I feel the third resource is something that is extremely important for us. And the third resource is our parents as of now. So we as educators, we do not have any direct contact with our children as we are within our home and our children are within their house. So we are not able to reach out to them in the control environment of our school. So learning has to come from various other resources, Now, in this kind of today's situation, who has become the immediate teacher? If you see, the immediate teacher is actually the parent. Now, this is where, as an educator, we need to realize that one of the most important resources that we have today are the parents, through whom the preschoolers will actually be able to reach out and they can be taught. Now, buddy up is definitely the right approach to reach out to the child, right? Also, for achieving this goal, amplified and simplified parent and teacher interaction is extremely important on a day-to-day basis, on an ongoing basis. So although it is a lot of work for the teachers, but I think it's very important because now for teachers, it is like they have to reach out to two people now. Not only the child, but also the parent, because that's how they can actually reach out to the child. So yes, we used to tell earlier to each parent that just drop the child to the school and go. But now in the new normal, we'll have to ask the parents to stay with our children because they're too small. They need all the physical comfort. They need all the emotional support of their parents to be beside them when learning is happening. So yes, our parents have actually become the eyes and ears for the educators, to give them any feedback, to click their photo, to click their videos, record, and get it back to us so that we can find those evidences of learning that we had carefully done in our resource planning. So they have become those indispensable new resources for the new normal. So I think I would like to end my session by saying that lockdown has given us a new perspective to reinvent our resources, to reinvent the way we manage our resources. So it's not that we are using absolutely new resources, but it is reinventing the things that were already there with us and planning them in a careful way so that learning does happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Seema. It was pleasure listening to you. And I'm so glued to this screen. You will not believe, though my video is off, I'm still glued to looking at all of you because I'm seeing some of them for the first time and I'm seeing some of them after a long time. So I'm actually glued and I'm not even moving from here because I'm interested in looking at you and listening to all of you. So thank you so much, Seema ma'am. It was nice, pleasure listening to you. We move on to our most awaited speaker. The next speaker we have is Miss Shilpa Solanki. Miss Shilpa Solanki is the director for the Harmony Tree School, Pune. She's also the committee member for Pune chapter for ECA. I was actually waiting for Shilpa's session as well because her topic is keeping the magic alive. And we were actually waiting for her that, she was not able to connect through because of some internet issues. But now, just like a magic, she's come on the screen. And I'm so happy to welcome you. So over to you, Shilpa, and we are looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you, Mansi. Can you hear me?
A little louder, Shilpa, little louder.
Okay, thank you, Mansi. I will talk a little louder.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience and really, I mean, finally, technology teaches us to be patient, surely. Thank you, fellow panelists, for making it so easy. It must be telepathy because I think each topic is leading so naturally into the other, and it will seem like we've planned ahead of time to take you through this unfolding. So I'm going to extend my session to what Seema has just said and build upon that. Like Seema mentioned that this new normal is not all new. So one, we don't need to be so overwhelmed with what's happening. It's not a 360 turnaround. We need to know what we know and we need to build upon what we need to know now. Hence the upskilling and the reskilling. Uh, what do we know as educators? We know how to create environments that are nurturing and stimulating for our children. We know how to make connections with our children because isn't that what we do when they're with us? We know that children need to be heard and they need to be appreciated. We know that children interact with their world to make sense of it. Hence, they need to be engaged in hands-on experiences. We know that children learn through their senses, and that's why they need to see and hear and touch and feel and move around. We know that they learn best through concrete materials and pictures and visuals. We also know that they need routine. Routine makes them feel safe. We know that we use effective techniques and strategies back in classroom, and we get the child's attention by using tons of tricks and surprises. Then why must that change only because we've transitioned to remote learning? So let us not throw this baby out of the window. We need to just adapt, adopt, tweak a little here and there to make this transition happen. A challenge, friends, is to put this old wine in a new bottle. What we know, moving to what we need to know and what we need to learn better to ensure we reach to every house. We can keep this magic alive. I'm going to take you through certain tips and tricks, like the others, direct, take home, take with you practical ideas so that you can turn these into your sessions right away as early as tomorrow. Um, I'm going to take you through 5 tips and 5 tricks. The first tip is planning. We call it PPPPP, which says prior proper planning prevents poor performance. If everyone remembers that, you will be a much more peaceful person and a teacher who's calm. If you've done your work before you get on to your session, you will see that the children are calm, the parents are calm, and everything seems to fall in place. Along with planning, what we often forget is to prepare. I cannot emphasize enough to say that how important it is to prepare the material. We can have fancy plans, we can write it all down, we can chalk it all down, but till we don't get to prepare the material, the resources, the videos, the PPTs, whatever we need to make, we are going to see that we will flutter and fumble when we are out there with our children. So the first tip is to plan and prepare. The second tip is to ensure that you are able to use yourself. Like Seema said, the resource of the home and the parent, yourself as a resource. The limited resource we have now is just our upper body. How do I now augment my facial expressions? How do I augment my upper body so that I can reach out to the children? In a typical classroom setting, I have my entire body. I can jump out, I jump in. There's so much non-verbal that is going on. But in this limited screen resource that we have, we need to ensure that we emphasize on our facial expressions and we use what we call micro movements just within the frame. So if you had to show how will an elephant stomp, typically you would move your lower body, but now you can't. So you will stomp with your upper body. If you want to show the elephant has big ears, you will again exaggerate that movement using just your in frame. So the second important tip is to ensure your facial expressions get augmented and you begin to use what we call micro movements that fit within the frame. Third, eyes on children. You need to constantly be watching for those that are distracted and those that are quiet. Quickly call out for their names. Have quick name tags which says, Azad, I want you listening. Are you here with me? So use name tags. The fourth tip is to ensure you use your voice, the tone and the tune so that you're peppy, you're lively, and you're fair. Don't overshow enthusiasm for one child and a dull expression for the other. The fairness will come through the tone and tune of your voice. The fifth tip for the day is routine and expectations. Children need to know what's going to happen. So you can talk about this afternoon, we are going to engage in a language activity. So keep resources ready so that you can use them. You can use routines of the date. Today is the 8th of June. We can talk about how it's also a rainy day. So use resources that are handy to ensure that the children, that the attention is grabbed. Let's move on to some quick tricks. I'm going to give you a peek into the tricks that you can use. What are some of the attention grabbers we could use? Find them in your house. Just a quick something that makes noise. You can't hear it, but you can see it shake. It can even be a simple whistle. So you can use attention grabbers to get your children to listen, or just a quick movement of the hand to know that they have to look at you. You can use a lot of hand gestures. Good looking, good listening, good speaking. Use hand gestures, non-verbal cues, along with, let me pick mine, along with visual cues for those that need visual connect. So you can have both the auditory and this. Also ensure that you're using a lot of feelings. How are you feeling today? Are you sleepy? Are you sad? Engage in conversation. You can also talk about, talk to them. What did you learn today? And use cues to do that. Praise and incentives work really, really well with little children. So a quick star, a quick clap that everyone can do, a quick making sounds, giving them a little appreciation so that they get encouraged to participate. Last, we must use what we call helping them to see where you are as a teacher. So I'm using this to show that I'm extremely happy with you. If you need to give them feedback, you can talk about, I wish we waited for our turn. And sometimes, which if they do, you want to express that you're not happy with what they're doing, you can show them through visuals how you can, how they can get what you're saying. Use tricks, use tips, use lots of visuals, use lots of aids, keep your material ready. I call it my treasure box. Luckily, I was all set because remote learning started today and I have my treasure box. It's for you now to create your treasure box that will spin out this magic. And you add your own personal touch to it. You add what you have at home. Some of these are very, very easy to make. Old rough paper, cardboard that you're wasting, a lot of material can be recycled. So know that, teachers, that even if you're not at school, we can bring the classroom into your houses and on your table, and it's really a world of possibilities. Also remember that every day is not rainbow and sunshine. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. But at the end, you have it in you. If you tell yourself, I've done that for so many years, I did that last year, why can't I do it today? So we don't have to get all scared because it's a new way of doing it. If you know your fundas clearly, you know your principles of teaching and learning clearly, you know what works with children and what does not work, use them. Use them even if you are geographically away from your children, because you have it in you. Thank you so much. I hope you have practical tips to take with you.
So it was worth the wait, let me say that. And it was pleasure listening to you, Shilpa. And moving on to the next speaker, she's been waiting so patiently. I always wonder, the last speakers are the best. If you all must have heard my this session as well, I also went last because I wanted to give opportunity to everybody to talk to first. So we have Miss Smita Agarwal with us. I am so looking forward to your Smita's session as well. She is the founder of WIM Masters Education. She is also the ECA committee member for Pune chapter. The topic that she's going to talk with us about is reinventing 21st century teaching. So without taking much of your time and trying patience with Smita some more time, I hand over to Smita, and we are looking forward to listening to you, Smita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mansi. Warm hi to all my fellow panelists and all the attendees. And thank you for this opportunity. Now, as Shilpa said, we are just moving. It's just a flow, like starting from the virtual presence to the mental health to using the resources to keeping the magic alive. I would like to talk about reinventing 21st century teaching. So let me begin by a story. I was doing this story, the bear hunt, with the early learners in our program. It is so important. I realized it is very important to reinvent things during this session. During bear hunt, there is one stage where we go through the forest, and it so goes like it's a deep dark forest, and how will we go through the forest? Stumble trip, stumble trip. So while we were doing that, a 5-year-old said, why should we go like that? Don't you have a torch in your cell phone? And we can just switch on the torch and we wouldn't stumble and we wouldn't trip. And I just realized that this is so relevant for them. And because they are born in this digital era, and it is so relevant for them that they don't see the relevance of stumbling and tripling and going through the dark forest, rather than taking a mobile out and switching on the torch and going ahead. So one tip which I would like to give you all is reinvent the stories which you all use in the classroom. So which is very relevant, which makes relevance, and children can draw relevance from and relate to these stories from their own experiences and their own things which are around them. So why not reinvent stories, reinvent tools? So this is one thing which I feel we should use. The other thing is that we are, as we just said, Insia said, we are just cramming in a lot of information, and we should focus on quality and rather than on content. And we are always so focused on content, and we're just cramming in information. But it so happens, especially now during the lockdown, children have got so much of digital access that they've already got access to that particular content in some way or the other. There are so many numerous apps, and now with so many things available freely on the internet, with so many YouTube channels, probably they've already got this information in bits and pieces. So why not teach them how to relate and how to combine all these bits of pieces into a broader picture, and show them how a broader picture can be created. Like, say, suppose patterns. There are so many apps wherein children learn patterns and rhymes and all. Why not relate that there are patterns in rhymes? There is a pattern on the zebra crossing. So rather than teaching them red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, and relating it to real life experiences, and they can immediately look into their surroundings and relate that particular concept and have a broader picture. So this is something which I feel is reinventing the way we are teaching children. Another thing which I would like to say, now that digital with online sessions, the time of school has reduced. So we focus on the 3 R's: arithmetic, reading, and writing. And so we tend to compartmentalize. This is the language session. This is the math session, or so on and so forth. But now with digital time and on-screen time being reduced, school timing being reduced, why should we compartmentalize education. Rather, make it an integration, make it interdisciplinary. Why can't there be math and language together? Why we need to adopt more creative ways wherein we teach children to integrate and relate music to math, math to language, language to science, science to engineering, everything. I mean, the combination which we get by integrating is wonderful. Like just like real life example, when we eat pani puri, we don't eat tikha pani first, a spoonful of meetha pani, then the aloo chana, and then the puri. We first take the puri, make a whole, integrate everything, and then that gives us a wholesome experience. So I feel this would give children a wholesome experience, and we can utilize the reduced screen time in an effective way, and children can learn better. So integration, interdisciplinary teaching would be the new reinvention in the teaching style. So taking things from all the speakers, I wouldn't want to I think my job was the easiest one. So this is what I would like to tell everybody. This is how we can reinvent the teaching. This is how we can reinvent. And as Noah, there is this author, she rightly said, the art of reinventing is a critical skill in the 21st century. So just like how we reinvent so many things, we reinvent the atta into roti, and when we have guests, we make naan and paratha, and when we are traveling, we make theplas. This is the same way we need to reinvent our teaching as well. The same material we need to reinvent. We need to reinvent the resources that we are using, which are easily available around the house, just like as Seema rightly said. So this is what I would like to say. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Smita. It was pleasure listening to you. There are so many people who are putting comments for all the speakers, the takeaways that they have, and a different type of topic, because it was a theme-based session. So everybody is very happy to have all of you. I am also very happy to have all of you. Can I have everybody on the screen, please? And you can unmute yourself. So now we are full attendance speakers. All of us are looking at each other. All of us are having are getting opportunity to see at each other. Any closing comments anybody would like to say for the participants for what is going on right now? Today we had the 8th of June was unlock down one thing, creating chaos at few places. Everybody, please be sane. Please do not waste all the efforts all of us have put by staying at home. So please be ensure that you do not get out on the road and just mess things up. Please ensure your own safety as well. Schools, colleges, everybody, please take care, and let us all our efforts of staying at home, being protected, not go in waste. So it is a humble request on behalf of all the panelists to all the participants to please see to it that all these things are followed, and we need to be following it properly and with sane mind. Any closing comments from any of the panelists? You can please give it to the participants. We can begin with Seema. Yeah, sorry.
So Mansi, I think, yes, we are at a new normal today. But looking at the current situation, I must say that this new normal can change each day for us, because now we are in the situation that, yes, people will start going out, work is coming back, lockdown is ending. New normal might be different by the time we wake up the next day. As educators, I think we'll have to constantly engage ourselves, connect, plan, reinvent, replan the resources, and move on, because learning wouldn't stop. Learning has to go on. That's all I would have to say.
Brilliantly put, Seema. I completely agree with you. I second your thought totally. Any comments from Dr. Ankita?
Yes, Mansi, I would like to tell everybody that this too shall pass. So just believe in yourself, trust in yourself, and every crisis brings up new avenues, new opportunities. So grab it, take hold of it, take control of the situation right now, be safe, and take care of everybody around you. So that's from my side.
I completely agree, Ankita, because I had the same thought in mind about this too shall pass. One of my very good friends tells me that वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी, ये दिन भी चले जाएंगे और अच्छे दिन आएंगे, and the real अच्छे दिन, not the other अच्छे दिन. Real अच्छे दिन will come. So this too shall pass. We all have to wait for the things to get normal. So I agree with you, Ankita. Any comments from Sneha?
I think there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, and we should make sure that there should be hope, and there's going to be light. So instead of complaining about the process, let's start enjoying the process. Let's start enjoying the new normal. And like Ankita said, this too shall will pass. So let's give our best for the process and enjoy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. And we need to be grateful. The more gratitude we express, more things will start getting normal and things will come the way we all are expecting. It might not be the normal. Like Seema mentioned, it's the new normal. You can't expect the situation to be the same as it was 3 months back. So that is not possible. So we need to accept and move on. Agreed. Insia, any comments?
Sure. Thank you so much, first of all, Mansi, for hosting this and having us over. I'd just like to add a few words that we are all educators. We work with our minds on young minds. So a beautiful mind is created first with an open mindset. So I think as educators, we all need to be really open, have an open mindset, use our minds in whatever aspects, whether the lockdown is opening and we're going out, what to do with respect to safety in every way. So use your mind your mind, and a beautiful mind starts with an open mindset.
Lovely, lovely. I love that, Insia. Really, very well spoken. Last comments from Shilpa.
Yes, thank you, Mansi. Absolutely second everyone's thought. Let us not be disheartened. I know that some parents don't have a buy-in yet because they're early learners and they think they can wait a while and watch what's going to happen. But as educators, I think our commitment lies to the child, the most important stakeholder. So let's continue to do what we're doing because the child deserves this.
Right. Very true, Shilpa. What about Smita?
I would say change is inevitable, and we just cannot ignore change. And another thing is change allows you to step out of your comfort zone, and life begins at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the comfort zone. So this is what life never ends.
Absolutely,
So
Smita.
true.
Change is the only constant. That's what we all have been hearing, and that's how we have been, moving on. So I once again thank you all the speakers, all the people who have come for ECA Aper Talks. It's an honor. I thank Dr. Swati Popatwats for giving all of us this opportunity where we can put our views forward, we can talk, we can interact. And on behalf of ECA and Aper, I once again thank all the speakers. It was pleasure having all of you. Thank you all the participants, all the viewers on Facebook, on Zoom, everywhere. And we look forward to having all of you for the episode, the ECA Aper Talk of episode 8, which is going to be on the 15th of June from 4 to 5. So stay tuned, friends. Have a great evening and have a great week ahead. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.